Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Silver the Hedgehog here, and once again, I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, or should I say, the hardest Zelda games ever made, on the Nintendo Entertainment System / Famicom Disk System. So, last time, we did somehow manage to explore through certain areas, including Death Mountain, and my goodness, that was actually quite a hard endurance run for the sake of the forms to try to make it for this point. And especially noticeable concerning for the fact that we actually have not done any of those palaces for some time. But now, since it's now a perfect opportunity that we can now able to actually call up for something, for the sake of the forms we're trying to able to explore some more palaces. So speaking of which though, is about the fact that today for this video, is that potentially speaking of, we're about to able to actually go ahead and continue exploring, and because of that, we're now going to be hitting off, and let's just say, we're about to able to explore through not only one palace, but two different palaces to able to explore as well. So because of that, yeah, things gets a little bit more interesting to say the least, concerning for the fact that it's been about 6 days ago since I actually have last played this, because sure enough though, it's about for the fact that I'm pretty certain that Sonic is almost finishing up everything for the Final Horizon DLC update. Mind you, no matter what though, is that until the next couple of days later, is that potentially speaking though, is about for the fact that sometimes Sonic definitely needs and deserves a break at one point if he decides able to go into one of, without doubt, certain hardest aspects of the forms of the Final Horizon DLC update so far. So because of that, yeah, relatively speaking though, not much else to talk about this for the sake of time. Although, relatively speaking though, it's about for the fact that, well, today's date of course there is the 11th of November today, in some cases in 2023 today. So naturally speaking though, it's about for the fact that we've already did manage to able to have a really great time able to actually experience the buddy forms of Wave 6, or should I say, the final wave for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and let me tell you, it is a nice little, thrilling ride when it comes to likely experiencing every single DLC content for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as far as the entire package as far as I'm concerned. So because of that, like what Sonic has already mentioned about this before, is that there's only one Mario thing left for the likes of 2023, and that appears to be, of course, Super Mario RPG Remake. So because of that, and relatively speaking though, I'm still very excited about that, especially after playing through tons of games recently, ranging from Sonic Superstars, as well as the forms of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and even WarioWare Move It, which, funny story actually, is that much like the forms of how it does it on Super Mario Bros. Wonder, for some reason, I somehow managed able to obtain WarioWare Move It a day before that game was originally going to be released for the sake of the forms of 3rd of November, which I suppose I forgot to mention about this for sake of time. So because of that, yeah, it seems pretty strange though. I've no idea why it just keeps on giving me the game really early than it was originally attempted. I think the reason being for this is because we somehow felt a bit lacking when it comes to the forms of pre-order bonus items as far as I'm aware. Mind you, because I somehow missed out on the forms of those postcards for the likes of the forms of WarioWare Move It. So because of that though, yeah, I felt a little bit bummed out for the fact that there was no way I can able to actually get those postcards for now, because as a result, I don't think we can probably able to go into any holiday vacation anytime soon, until specifically next June, as far as what I believe Luigi has already explained about this, ever since in Journey Falls have been the you know what I'm saying, Luigi's Mansion playthrough. So because of that, yeah, relatively speaking, I was about from the fact that, well, yeah, that was it. That was basically all there was to really think about when it comes to likely what's up next for Mario, for the likes of the forms of the last stretch of 2023 before we move on to 2024. So everything else will be pretty much accounted for. So because of that though, speaking of which though, is apart from the fact that there's also another thing is about to be releasing at some point in next month in particular, which appears to be Pokemon Scarlet or Pokemon Violet for part 2 of that particular DLC in mind, and that's what appears to be the Indigo Disc. So as a result, that particular DLC is going to be releasing a day before Chicken Run Dawn of the Nuggets for Netflix. So because of that, it's expected to be releasing until the 14th of December. So that's going to be roughly about a month later. So because of that though, I think that pretty much takes care of the forms of the majority of the Pokemon stuff during the course of in 2023 as well. So, yeah, again, there's not much else I can able to say about this, I guess. So yeah, as you can tell, we're now going to be able to actually go ahead and explore through the second temple, or the second palace. So because of that though, not much else explanations for the sake of time. So there might be a lot of backtracking moments here and there. Oh, and by the way, something's worth noting for you can able to actually do a downward stab onto that particular skull disc looking thing, and not only you can able to actually kill them, which is definitely possible, but if you dare touch them without even attacking him, I believe you lose some of your magic. So because of that though, yeah, it feels kind of similar to one of those enemies as one of those Zelda games I could possibly think about on top of my head. Well, as I mentioned this before, it's been about 6 days ago since I actually have last played this for sure, because relatively speaking though, we've somehow managed able to caught up for the sake of the forms of playing this particular game, despite how frustrating this game can be, so... But I digress. Oh, and something's worth noting for is, apart from the fact that until next week, I don't think it's possible for me to able to actually continue this next week, because we've decided able to actually take a break on this game after this particular weekend as far as I'm concerned, mainly because of two factors. For one, I need to seriously get ourselves a massive recovery after experiencing this hardest Zelda games I've ever played so far, and second, because of until next week, that the Powerpuff Girls is going to be celebrating its 25th anniversary treatment. So because of that, I wonder if it's possible we can able to tackle for one of those games in particular, because I know one of those particular comments did somehow said to us that maybe we can probably do one of those, the Powerpuff Girls games. Well, I'm not counting the forms of the mobile games, mainly because they are entirely based off from the stupid, terrible version of 2016 reboot, which, as a result, we're only going to be tackling through the classic ones, mainly from the likes of, well, I'm sure I'm probably not going to be able to spoil things too much, mainly because I'll let you guys find out for yourselves, specifically until next weekend, because relatively speaking though, that I'm pretty sure both of those games are going to be super duper short, at least depending on how, you know, how much of a gameplay experience we somehow experienced throughout. But either way, speaking of which though, apart from the fact that recently, for the likes of Super Mario RPG Remake, we somehow managed able to get ourselves our overview trailer for the likes of in the Japanese version of Super Mario RPG overview trailer to showing ourselves certain mechanics and also some new additions. And on top of that, well, for what I've noticed is apart from the fact that, well, when it comes to like Kulex as a secret boss fight, for what I've looked on the actual image so far, it seems that it's actually exactly the same sprite as you remember from the Super Nintendo game. So, kind of bizarre, but I think something is fishy is going on. But then again, no, I'm probably not going to spoil things too much, concerning for the fact that maybe it's a possibility we can able to stumble across into a massive surprise that, for those who have not experienced the Super Nintendo version already, although relatively speaking though, is apart from the fact that, well, hopefully we'll find out some more information for ourselves anyway, whenever we do manage able to receive the game. I wonder if it's possible for me, that since that we've already pre-ordered Super Mario RPG on a Switch, basically, could it be possible for my third time lucky for able to actually receive the game a day earlier before the game comes out for the physical version? Because I don't know about you, it just keeps on happening. Maybe because it's my lucky experience, all things considered. Because mind you, like I said before, is that I've never actually been bothered able to actually get the pre-order bonus items for the sake of the forms of so far anyway, which are both Super Mario Bros. Wonder and WarioWare Move It, so maybe it's possible as well for the sake of the forms of Super Mario RPG on the Switch, and maybe some other games else for that matter, like Mario vs. Donkey Kong or Princess Peach Showtime, etc, etc. But time will tell, especially it's all depending on the fact that, well, we're still in 2023 after all, so relatively speaking, I was about for the fact that we've only just got about a couple of weeks left until Christmas is almost approaching. So because of that, we still have no idea of what to expect for this year's Christmas this time around though, because after all, I think I should probably able to let some toys else were able to actually mention more about it until when it gets to December or something. So because of that, so yeah, let's just go and go down to this particular elevator, or specifically the lift. Well, depending on what region you lived in, so I always attempt to call it the elevator or an elevator, just for sure for the sake of the forms of some vocabulary, and it looks like we somehow level up something. So because of that, yeah, everything else will be good to go for the most part. So now the actual, the goal of that particular experience points decides to able to rise up, so even then though, yeah, it's not much explanations for the sake of convenience that is. So, anyways though, oh yeah, speaking of which though, when it comes to WarioWare Move It, is that I'm pretty sure Sonic has completely forgot to mention about, during the course of the Forms of Sonic Frontiers playthrough so far, is that potentially speaking of what I've read on the actual review scores in WarioWare Move It, as far as what Sonic has already mentioned about this so many times already, that is actually gonna get a pretty good review scores, ranging from, let's just say IGN gives the game 7 out of 10, for some reason GameSpot receives the game 6 out of 10 for some reason, Game Informer receives WarioWare Move It as in 8.25 out of 10, as well as the Forms of Destroyed It receives the game 7 out of 10, and Eurogamer receives the game 3 out of 5, and Games Radar receives the game 4 out of 5, and also for some reason Game Reactor for some reason just gives the game 5 out of 10, and Metro gives it an 8 out of 10, and for Polygon, I'm not exactly sure why that is though, mainly because, well, it just says NA for right now anyway, but honestly, I did have a lot of fun playing the Forms of WarioWare Move It, like I've already stated this earlier, especially concerning for the fact that we just, been glad to be back on the Forms of some WarioWare swing of things after 2 years ago since getting together. But, you know what I mean. So, anyway, there's also another thing I want to address something about this as well, since that we've now finally wrapped up everything for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which, still, we had a fun time, all things considered, at the end of the day. Oh, and by the way, we must able to pick this up, just in case for the sake of time, is about for the fact that it might actually be, I don't know about you, I'm not exactly sure what this item is used for, so because of that, I suppose we'll figure out for ourselves. So, anyways though, when it comes to the Forms of some tracks that did not make it, make the cut, for the sake of the Forms of the actual Booster Course Pass in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, in a transition from the likes of the Mario Kart Tour variant, is that what I've noticed is that there are quite a few tracks that is going to be stuck onto Mario Kart Tour, aside from one, which appears to be by the Forms of, well, relatively speaking, this is about the fact that we've already known for the fact that Piranha Plant Pipeline is now going to be stuck on tour, but that's okay, because I will admit though right away, I'm honestly not a big fan of the Forms of Piranha Plant Pipeline. I mean, it is interesting, don't get me wrong, it's just that it's basically like a modern version of this particular concept. Oh, I see how it is. We're able to actually have the ability to able to break through rocks. Oh, I see. So basically though, this is where we come across into ourselves a Power Glove. In some cases, a pretty useless, gadget. Well, to be fair though, because it did somehow reference something out of it from the NES peripheral or anything else like that, despite how the Power Glove itself is a pretty horrendous NES controller, especially because you're able to actually have a controller attached into your glove, and yeah, and it also does have this little motion device as far as what I've heard anyway, so but even then though, despite I've never actually got it for myself, you see, so because of that, yeah, I'm just a little bit more optimistic for the sake of the Forms of what the Power Glove usually can do for the NES peripheral. So yeah, for the Power Glove as the item that we somehow got, this allows us to able to break through blocks with your sword. So pretty bizarre in theory. I almost assume for the fact that you can able to actually punch gloves with it, although it wasn't until it gets to the point until, let's just say, on The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, that you can able to actually turn into one of those characters for one of those masks you can wear, but I suppose that particular topic can wait, or it can wait. So, anyways though, Yeah, in terms of the forms of some tracks that did not make the cuts for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, after all, which there are, well, let's just start things off with Super Mario Kart, and basically, though, it does manage to have quite a number of tracks from the likes of the forms of in Mario Kart Tour, from likely brought back from the likes of in Super Mario Kart or something like that. So, relatively speaking though, I don't think it's possible we're not going to be able to see Ghost Valley 1 and 2, as well as Choco Island 1 and 2, and I don't think it's possible we can able to see Vanilla Lake 1 and 2. Well, mind you, because I feel like that Vanilla Lake is pretty underwhelming to me. Although, sure, the music is nice, don't get me wrong, but I feel like that it lacks any sort of charm, whilst it's a good thing they somehow choose, Snowland from the likes of in Super Circuit instead, just to make things a little bit more interesting. So because of that, despite with the forms of that particular almost like a very simplistic layout or something like that. But either way though, I'm very glad they managed able to choose Snowland from the likes of in Wave 2, but that's just the way how I feel about it. And it seems to be more specifically though, it seems that we keep on having ourselves some pretty cool snow-themed courses for the sake of the forms of not only for its base game, but also with the forms of the entire DLC out of it as well. So yeah, that seems pretty cool and pretty awesome to me anyway, because I just love seeing those winter-themed stages and stuff like that. So, although despite you have to deal with the forms of ice physics from time to time, which is the only thing it's kind of, annoying at times, whenever you're trying to do some platforming, or potentially speaking, if you're trying to move in a 3D space, while in the forms of this particular ice rig in mind. But relatively speaking, no matter what though, I'm just really looking forward to able to actually just to play certain winter-themed stages for the Mario Kart games during the forms of around Christmas time, because after all, that last year, I did somehow manage to able to play most of the Mario Party games, except Mario Party events, on my own time, just to able to do a countdown to the Christmas department. So maybe I can probably do the same thing, but with Mario Kart, so maybe I can probably able to actually be playing through all of the games in a chronological order, starting with, of course, Super Mario Kart, all the way up to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The only time exception being is, of course, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, because I still haven't exactly got that particular RC car. Well, I still managed able to technically download that particular game, but for whatever reason, I just never able to actually can't afford to able to actually get the RC car itself. Well, mind you, it's actually gonna get pretty pricey these days, even with either with Luigi or Mario versions, but either way though, I suppose time will tell. So either way, and I'm almost gonna get butt kicked by that particular slime blob thing, but that's okay for me, because obviously, it looks like we've almost nearly at the end of this particular palace, so either way though, let's just go ahead and pick up the some more experience points, as you can tell, but you have to be very quick about it, because if you stand on that particular blocks, basically it starts to crumble and you have to escape out of it. So of course, we've met again with the forms of those, or should I say, rather, this is without doubt is one of the most annoying enemies to deal with, although don't even get me started until later on though, that we will come across into some of the most annoying variants. So because of that though, think of like Dark Nuts from the likes of the forms of in the first game, except, well, obviously it's now in a 2D plane, as in a 2D platformer, and not only that, we've met with the forms of those Stealthos, which I'll admit though, these Stealthos in this game is also a bit of a pain as well. But at the very least though, we keep on getting very lucky with all these experience points though, so that's something, alright? So anyways though, so here's the forms of well, let's just say Iron Knuckles, as what those guys are known as. So because of that, so far we've only come across into two variants so far, which are the orange variant and the red variant. So because of that, but like I said before, we will come across into the most annoying variant until later on, but that way, that can wait as well. So because of that, let's go ahead and take on the second boss in the game, and honestly, this boss is actually really easy, especially because all you have to do is just how to able to time your jumps correctly, and then you would able to actually easily stab his face in just in the right time. And there we go, second palace is fully completed. So because of that, let's go ahead and place the crystal into that specific shrine. So there we go. So I believe we've only got about 4 more palaces left until we make our way to the 7th and possibly the final one, potentially speaking. So let's go ahead and level up our life. So we're now on level 6 for life. So yeah, pretty awesome to me. I almost assume about the fact that they'll try to able to select attack power, but maybe until later on. So, but I digress. So yeah, for the most part though, oh yeah, let's get back into the forms of certain Super Mario Kart courses. It's probably not going to make it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after all. I've already mentioned about the forms of Ghost Valley 1 and 2. It's not going to make it, including 3, and that also applies for Choco Island 1 and 2, and Vanilla Lake 1 and 2, and also Koopa Beach 2, and that's about it basically. For some reason, Koopa Beach 1 has never brought it back, ever since, and technically speaking, in Mario Kart Super Circuit, so even though it seems kind of an odd scenario for the sake of the forms of how the fact that they refused able to bring back certain courses from the likes of in the future installments. Like, I know for a fact that for one thing in mind, that also during that specific period worth noting for, is that with Mario Circuit 4 was also never brought back, in addition with the forms of Bowser's Castle 1 and 2, clearly because in Bowser's Castle 2 does manage to troll you for one of those alternative paths you can able to take. So I can totally see why that's totally seems to be the case. So either way though. And in terms of Mario Kart 64, when it comes to the forms of certain courses, they are basically stuck in the forms of in Mario Kart Tour, while they are not going to make its return in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and those are Luigi Raceway, Koopa Troopa Beach, that's what I was going to meant to say, Mario Raceway, and finally Frappy Snowland, which is kind of unfortunate because I really love Frappy Snowland, especially considering for the fact that I love the music alone. So even then though, and also the actual the color palette is also pretty spectacular to look at, but it's kind of unfortunate that Frappy Snowland is going to be basically stuck on Mario Kart Tour now. So because of that, now in terms of Mario Kart Super Circuit selections of courses, that it's probably not going to make it during the forms of in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, while they still basically stuck in Mario Kart Tour after all. That's what appears to be by the forms of Bowser's Castle 1, 2, 3, and 4 combined into one. Well, potentially speaking though, with all these separate courses or something. So because of that, oh yeah, let's go ahead and showcase off the fairy spell. And what the heck is this? So apparently you turn into a fairy, and basically you can able to actually go into higher places and stuff like that, but you can't transform out of yourself as long as you weren't able to actually go and exit to the current screen. So because of that though, yeah, we somehow turn back into the forms of the normal Link during the course of in the next screen. So because of that, yeah, that's essentially all you have to really utilize with that transformation and stuff like that. So, and it looks like we've made our way to the 3rd palace in the game already. So because of that, well, despite that, on the other hand, I don't think it's possible for me to able to actually complete the entire temple, as in the forms of, if you couldn't tell already, I've only got 1 life left. So because of that, if I somehow die, well, I'll explain more details about that specific annoying mechanic during the forms of this particular earliest progression for the sake of Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link. Now I'm sure you probably already know what I mean right here. So you get a game over, and it did say game over, Return of Ganon. Now, if you get a game over, you can save your progress during the end of the day, so at least you're still able to retain any power-ups and items you earn. However, current experience points are lost, and you're beginning your way back to Hyrule Temple every damn time. If you made a tons of progress up to this point, and if you manage to get a game over in one of the palaces, you're taken all the way back to Hyrule Temple. We have to arduously, gruelingly journey your way back to the forms of the palace you died at, and hope you make it this time around. This is the most frustrating part of the game for me. There is nothing more frustrating as much as you're able to actually notice you actually died during at some point throughout the game, and you have to go all the way back to the actual Hyrule Temple, and you have to start all over again for its entire exploration. What the heck is that all about? well, at least it informs within the first game that if you get a game over on the first game, when you die during the forms of one of the dungeons in a game, you restart at the beginning of the forms of the dungeon. You only have 3 hearts, yeah, but at least you can able to actually expect to able to actually just do not lose your tons of progression and stuff like that. So what is this game? It's already hard enough as it is, but as a result, yeah, I can totally see why for the fact that we pretty much got to able to tackle through one of those hardest aspects in journey forms of one of those games sometimes. Well, I suppose lucky for both Mighty and Ray are basically comfortable with the forms of playing through Super Mario Bros. 3 for the 3rd time, but this time it appears to be, of course, on a Game Boy Advance version, but that's besides the point. Oh yeah, let's get back into the topic for the sake of the forms of certain tracks will most likely not going to be make it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe while they're still stuck on Mario Kart Tour. I've already mentioned about the forms of Bowser's Castle 1, 2, 3, and 4, and there's also Cheep Cheep Island, which is a shame because obviously I really do love the aesthetics about the forms of Cheep Cheep Island, because as a result it's basically like a sunset version of Shy Guy Beach with no annoying mechanics with the forms of those specific cannonballs to somehow shoot out of the forms of the pirate ship, and because of that you have to avoid those cannonballs and stuff like that, while you simply get out able to avoid certain explosions. Or maybe I keep thinking about the Mario Kart Wii version of that particular track. Well, at least if I was assuming so anyway. And another track is probably not going to make it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe while it's still stuck on tour, and that's what appears to be Yoshi Desert, because even then though, it seems kind of sad that we're probably not going to see Yoshi Desert in gorgeous HD, because as a result of that particular matter though, at the very least we do somehow technically got Cheeseland from the likes of from the get-go, if you manage able to get yourselves Mario Kart 8 Deluxe from the start on the Switch, whilst unfortunately though on the Wii U version that you can no longer get the DLC for Mario Kart 8 anymore. Well, usually I still managed able to get the DLC for Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U just before the eShop closure decides to able to existence. So, but either way, and there's also Peach Circuit and Luigi Circuit, which I will admit though right away, I do seem to able to miss Luigi Circuit a lot more than the likes of Peach Circuit, because Peach Circuit is pretty standard stuff. At the very least though, it does have its pretty nice presentation for the sake of Mario Kart Tour counterparts, but aside from all that stuff though, I really do love the actual different weather conditions you might come across into in Luigi Circuit. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer about the fact that we're probably not going to see that particular track make its return in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, sadly. So, and I suppose the last track that is probably not going to make it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after all, which appears to be Lakeside Park, because we've already technically have Riverside Park, so at least that's something, I suppose. So yeah, I guess that's that potentially. Now, as far as Mario Kart Double Dash, as far as I'm concerned, is that potentially speaking though, there's only 2 tracks. It's going to be most likely stuck on Mario Kart Tour, because obviously we've now already got ourselves DK Mountain, which is actually still as a fantastic choice in our perspective anyway. But relatively speaking though, is that 2 of those tracks in particular are Dino Jungle and Mushroom Bridge are basically both stuck onto Mario Kart Tour, but that's okay for me, because obviously I can able to replay through Dino Jungle from the likes of not only in the original counterpart, but also in Mario Kart 7 variant as well. So because of that, I should be able to actually go ahead and just try to play through Dino Jungle at any point in Mario Kart 7, despite online functionality will be closed or shut down until the next couple of months. So, and as far as I'm aware from Mushroom Bridge though, honestly, I'm gonna be alright without any sort of realizing for the fact that I know there are some fans out there that really do miss the point that they really begging for Mushroom Bridge to able to actually make its appearance in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, relatively speaking though, I'm pretty sure for the fact that Daisy Circuit is not going to take place. So, oh, here's the most annoying variant of Iron Knuckle I was talking about, and that's what appears to be the blue variant, which not only hit harder, but also takes more hits to kill. And also, on top of that, he does throw us some very, very annoying projectile at us, which as a result, you're about to die a lot during the forms of this very annoying Iron Blue Knuckle variant. So, and if you come towards that particular right part of the screen, if you couldn't tell, we somehow obtained that familiar item ever since in the first The Legend of Zelda game, and that's what appears to be the raft. So basically, something tells me is that we do definitely need to able to obtain the raft, by the way, in order to able to progress, because otherwise, if you missed out on that, well, you're gonna have to able to actually backtrack into certain other areas. So yeah, keep this in mind though, keep this in mind. So yeah, I guess that was about it basically. So it's only like 2 Mario Kart Double Dash tracks. It's gonna be stuck on Mario Kart Tour, but I'm perfectly fine with that because obviously I still managed able to enjoy DK Mountain, and it's actually pretty cool for the fact that DK Mountain has been brought back not once, not twice, but 3 times, which to me though, I always felt super appreciated with that. So anyways, let's move on now to Mario Kart DS. There's only like 3 courses. It's usually stuck on Mario Kart Tour, whilst I don't think it's possible they'll make a comeback in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and those are Luigi's Mansion and Airship Fortress, and especially noticeable for DK Pass. So because of that, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for the fact that a lot of fans out there are pretty upset for the sake of the forms of Airship Fortress, because that was actually one of the coolest tracks in Mario Kart DS. But luckily, we're not out of luck though, because we're technically able to actually have ourselves in that track do make a return from Mario Kart 7, so not the end of the world personally, but relatively speaking, it is definitely unfortunate that we're not going to see an HD treatment of that particular course, sadly. So, and in terms of Luigi's Mansion though, well, at the very least, much like Airship Fortress and DK Pass, that we're still able to actually experience Luigi's Mansion racetrack in Mario Kart 7 at the very least. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but either way though, beggars selves can't be choosers, I guess. And in terms of Mario Kart Wii, there's only one in particular course is going to be stuck on Mario Kart Tour, and that is because you know, we've now finally got the 5th variant of Rainbow Road, as we've already on about that for the majority of this week. So I'm sure enough until next week that we're probably not going to touch upon it for quite some time. But relatively speaking though, apart from the fact that, well, apparently Dry Ruins is the only course is gonna be pretty much stuck on Mario Kart Tour, which I'm okay with this, even though it's kind of a bummer that that course is probably not gonna make it to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after all, but to be honest, I'm still gonna be perfectly fine without Dry Ruins. Although, don't get me wrong, I still managed able to enjoy that particular track in Mario Kart Wii, but it's kind of a bummer though that we're not gonna see an HD treatment of Dry Ruins. But oh well, no big deal. So either way, so let's just go ahead and I can assure to you, apart from the fact that we're now on the 3rd palace, as you can tell, and it looks like we've almost nearly at the end of it too. So because of that, I can't even believe it's actually going to get ridiculously fast at one point. Sure, there might be some slow parts from time to time, thanks to the forms of a lot of emphasis on death, for the sake of the forms of amount of trial and error as far as this is concerned. So, now I'm pretty sure we've almost at the next level up as well. So, thankfully though, that should be the case for the sake of time. So, anyways though, and I suppose the last thing I want to talk about, in terms of the forms of certain courses, is probably not going to make it from the likes of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after all, and that's what appears to be certain courses from Mario Kart 7, that certain courses is pretty much going to be stuck on Mario Kart Tour, and those are Daisy Hills, Cheap Lagoon, or Cheap Cape, as well as Shy Guy Bazaar, Mario Circuit, Wario Shipyard, and finally Bowser's Castle, because after all, we've recently received Rosalina's Ice World, of course. Now, keep this in mind though, is that I'm pursuing to you that Sonic also got it wrong from the likes of one of those Mii Racing suits that we're expecting to able to be received, is that, as it turns out, that we did somehow manage to able to discover there is, technically speaking, let's just say, a grand total of 18 of those Mii Racing suits that has now been added for that particular recent update for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and obviously because of how the fact that, well, one of them requires you to able to have an amiibo of Daisy, of course, and sure enough though, we're able to actually experience 17 Mii Racing suits. So, I'm pretty sure that Sonic has already mentioned about quite a few Mii Racing suits, so as a result, he forgot to mention about another 6 of those Mii Racing suits, and those are, let's just say, there's the Blooper Mii Racing suit, alongside with the Koopa Clown Mii Racing suit, as well as Moo Moo Mii Racing suit, and there's also an Ice Cream Mii Racing suit, which I will admit though, that's actually a really cool Mii Racing suit in my opinion. And there's also the Goomba Mii Racing suit, and finally, the Wiggler Mii Racing suit. So because of that, no need for the stupid gacha moments, unlike in Mario Kart Tour as a game itself. So because of that, yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about this, I guess. And as you can tell, I unfortunately got another death right there, mainly because, I will admit though right away, this boss is really annoying. Like, as a result, in addition about the fact that we need to be able to take care of the forms of the stupid, Iron Horse, at least as far as I'm concerned. But in addition to that, we need to be able to take down this Iron Knuckle as well. So, yeah, it's been divided into 2 segments apparently. So, yeah, I'm not too thrilled about this fight, especially considering for the fact that not only because it's tedious, but it's incredibly frustrating, especially noticeable considering for the fact that, well, it's a good thing we did somehow come across into that death earlier, because obviously I seriously need to, like, get this done and finished. And in addition to that, I believe something tells me is that once I deal with this particular stupid Iron Knuckle, I believe I'm also able to actually backtrack for a bit. So just in case I can able to actually guarantee to get myself my next level up as much as I possibly could. So hopefully we should be able to finish him off, so there he goes. And I'm sure enough I'm also able to heal myself, so because of that, and I was literally so close to able to level up, so yeah, let's just go ahead and cast a spell of life, so just in case I really don't want to able to die at this point, because if I do get a game over, I have to restart all the way back to the beginning portion of that particular tedious progression again, as I've already managed able to address that for the sake of the forms of how annoying this process can be. But let me tell you, it is really aggravating that you have to able to do a lot of backtracking, and then you have to able to just do a lot of tedium involved. So because of that, that's why it makes this game a lot more harder as it is, especially considering for the fact that this game is actually a lot harder than the Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, specifically the European and the North American version. And in addition to that though, with any other NES games I could possibly think about in top of my head. But either way, luckily we can now able to level up our attack. And not only we can able to level up our attack, we can able to expect able to get another level up too. Because obviously if you do manage to finish the actual palace, then obviously we can able to expect able to get a freebie level up. So, and luckily though, the bosses do not respawn, so that's a good thing. Especially considering for the fact that if I could imagine about the fact that if the boss did somehow respawn, then that would be a painful process. So, anyway, so palace number 3 is completely done, so it looks like we're now onto the halfway point in terms of placing certain crystals, so yeah, that should be pretty swell. And we did somehow level up our magic thing right there. Apologize for my commentary, it's a bit slightly awkward, but I mean, let's face it though, it's about for the fact that we pretty much already explained quite a number of things for this point today, especially considering for the fact that, let me tell you, I was going to be pretty excited about the forms of 2024 still, but that can wait though, especially like I said before, we've only just got about a couple of weeks left until, you know what I'm saying, when December rolls around, and especially noticeable when, wow, we've almost nearly at the end of 2023 for this point, so yeah, there's not much else I can say about this, I guess, especially because, like I said before, we've already explained quite a number of things from time to time, so, yeah, not much else to say about it, so But, either way, that's as far as I can usually think about it. So, because of that, I was expecting if I was trying to able to actually tackle through the fourth palace eventually, but, maybe at some point until tomorrow, then I should be able to actually just try to able to actually access the fourth palace. So, because of that, though, yeah, with that being said, though, I think we should probably end things up at this point right here. So, join me next time for more of Let's Play of Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, is that we can able to actually do some more exploration, and in addition to that, we can able to start be able to be doing the fourth palace. So, see you guys until tomorrow, and still wish me luck. Later, fellas.